Hi everyone, and welcome to the Friday Five. On this week's edition, we return to taking a look at some of the books of the Bible, giving you kind of a 5-minute overview to get you deep into the Word and to help you have an overall perspective of those books. We've been looking at New Testament books, and so I thought this time we would take a look at an Old Testament book. Really, we'll start to begin looking at the 5 books of the Pentateuch, first 5 books of the Bible. So today I want to talk to you about the book of Genesis. The word Genesis itself means beginning. And in the book of Genesis, we see the beginning of, well, everything. We see the beginning of creation in chapter 1. We see the beginning of families in chapter 2. We see the beginning of crime, hate, murder, whatever you want to refer to it, in chapter 4. And don't forget, in chapter 3, we have the beginning of sin and we have the beginning of redemption. Both topics are talked about in chapter 3. And then in chapter 6, we have the beginning of judgment. In chapter 11, we have the beginning of languages. And in chapter 12, we have the beginning of the nations. So it is all about beginnings, and we really don't understand a lot of the rest of the Bible without understanding the book of Genesis. Second thing I want to share with you about the book of Genesis is that it was written by Moses. Now, in the early 1800s, there was an idea that kind of became popular among skeptics of the Bible that suggested that, well, Moses really didn't write these first 5 books. Up until that time, almost nobody questioned it. Moses was the default writer of these 5 books. But in those days, an idea called the documentary hypothesis was put forth to say that rather than Moses writing all of it, it was a series of men. Moses may have been the editor, or maybe somebody else was the editor that put all of these things together, but Moses couldn't possibly have written it all. But there's a lot of internal evidence throughout the book, particularly in Exodus and Numbers and Deuteronomy, that note the fact that Moses was indeed the penman that God used to write all of these books. The third thing I want to share with you about the book of Genesis is that it is the first book in the book of the law, or the books of the law. I mentioned that word Pentateuch a few minutes ago. Another word that you may have heard batted around is the idea of the Torah, and that was the law book of the Jews. And that was the part of scriptures that they respected, and interestingly enough, even Muslims hold these 5 books at a certain level of respect. But when you come into the New Testament, and Jesus and Paul and the other writers will talk about the law and the prophets, these are the 5 books they're talking about, and it all starts with the book of Genesis. And it holds a very important place in sacred literature. The fourth thing I want to share with you is that it is a book of compressed history. I think this is one of the more interesting facts about the book of Genesis, and that is that it covers approximately the first 2,100 years of human history, from creation all the way up until the time that Jacob's children go into Egypt, and then later, of course, they're delivered by Moses. And in Exodus chapter 20, we see a new era begin, and that is of the nation of Israel as they come out of Egypt. They're given the law, they're about to go into the promised land, and so forth and so on. But here in the book of Genesis, we read about all that leads up to that. And it's amazing the detail that we get, at the same time, the amazing brevity that is shown in describing to us the events and the people who made up that first 2,100 years of human history. The final thing I want to tell you about is the primary characters of the book. There are 3 in my mind. One, and when we say primary, you have to think of the very first, and that's Adam. Adam was the first man, and he is also given as a counterpart of Jesus Christ in places like Romans 5 and 1 Corinthians 15. And so you can't skip over Adam. He is a very important part of the book. The second, and maybe the most important character of the book, is Abraham, because he's the father of the nation. Now, his story is told out not only in his own life, but the life of his son Isaac and his grandson Jacob. And these are the 3 patriarchs that are commonly referred to in the New Testament. And then the third primary character is that of Joseph. 1/3 of the book is reserved for Joseph's life, and Joseph serves almost as a type of Jesus Christ because he becomes the preserver, the protector of the nation. And there are a lot of lessons to learn there from the life of Joseph. Well, this is a quick look, but I hope it's a helpful look at the book of Genesis, and I encourage you to dig into it, learn more, come to love the book of Genesis, because as one person said, if you don't know where you came from, you really can't know where you're going, and that's what the book of Genesis provides. Thank you for joining me for the Friday Five.